Peace and blessings, y'all. This is your boy Gerald. It is the 20th of January, 2016. How is everybody doing? So we're halfway through our week, y'all. I hope your weekend was safe. We're starting to watch the winter take its rightful place. We're starting to see that balance because guess what? This is a new season. This should be a new you. But today, I'm about to start my day, as I know that all of you've already done. And I had something placed on my spirit, y'all, because, you know, it's real easy to take a placement to say, it's not me. It's real easy to, to ignore that pink elephant in the room, knowing that that's what's on your back. It's real easy to say, hey, it's not my fault and it's not my place. So I'm on my mind, knowing that you're going to have to clean up the mess. I know I'm talking to someone. So I want to put this out because as I'm starting my day, I saw something on television. And at first, I'm not a fan of reality TV per se, because 98% of it is not based off of reality, it's based off of fantasy and data collection, because trust and believe, there is someone taking note. But just so happened, I've been watching this show called, I think it's called Married at First Sight. It's found on A&E. Excuse me. And for those who've never seen the show, they tell you right off the bat, it's an experiment. And you take two perfect strangers, you marry them, and guess what? They have to acclimate, but in behind the scenes, there's somebody taking notes. Because we're dealing with the human dynamic. So I'm waiting for the next episode because now you're starting to see differences in these examples. I think they've got like 5 couples, and they all have different dynamics in their relationships. But there's this one couple that looks like they may have a shot. They seem very compatible from the eye. They come off with a chemistry that they both need. But it's only been 3 weeks in. And mind you, the experiment is only for 30 days. So how well can you know someone on an intimate level in 30 days? For some, they may say, that's all I needed, Gerald. For others, they still don't know that partner and they've been with them for years. And I really believe deep down inside, this is a reflection of not only the character that you project out into the world, but the foundation it was built off of. So I started channel surfing. Hold up. Let me pump my brakes. Let me throw this out here now. Because it's my opinions and my views, there may be some things that may not come off PC. I understand that there may be some that may feel a certain way. Feel free to share, leave a comment, like or do not like. But what you get from this, I hope, if anything, it plants a seed to ponder who and what defines you. Now that I got that out the way, I'm in short and sweet. Gerald might drop a little curse words because Gerald doesn't feel like being politically correct. So give me a little pass on that, okay? Thank you. So as I'm channel surfing, being very acclimated, starting my day because I've been working really, really hard. And as some of you already know, I work out in aviation. So I'm out there in the elements. And yes, it's cold. Yesterday, I spent 8 hours in 19 degrees. Yeah, so I was looking like a French fry. Didn't matter how bundled I was. You still cold. But to get back to my point. So that had a little effect on me. So this morning, I had the TV on, like most of you. You'll turn that TV on, you're multitasking, getting your day going. You're not really listening to it, but it's there. And I happened to notice that I think it was, paternity court. It was on. And on this episode, there was a young lady. You could tell right off the bat before she said her first words that she was angry. This had been an anger that had been festering for a long time. So she already knew what she was going to say before the questions were to be asked. So as I'm making my coffee, because Gerald got to have his coffee, I sit down and I watch it. Unlike a typical paternity show that they always have, you've got the single mother or the soon-to-be divorced spouse or the cheating spouse, and because it's supposed to be about the children. This one was different. You had a young woman. She was, I'd say maybe 31. Well, she seemed to come off that way because she looked a little hard. So you could tell that she didn't been through some or seen some stuff. But what was different was you had two prospective fathers sitting side by side. So the backdrop was this young lady was told that the man that she knew who was on her birth certificate was her biological father. However, there was another gentleman that said on quite contrary. I think that she's my daughter. I've had a long relationship with her mother, but it was one of those things where they could not and would not be committed. So for some of us, we know that is that love Jones. You just can't leave them alone, and years pass by. No matter how hard you try to get together, you still can't be on the same page, but yet you still are intimately intertwined. So as the show progressed, the prospective father, who's the one listed on the birth certificate, he's up on the stands, and the judge is asking him his perspective. And he said, well, hey, I'm just hearing right now that my daughter is telling you that I was not her father. And I knew about this for 15 years. I'm just hearing about this before the show. So, there was some disbelief. But you could see there was some division there anyway. So as the show progressed, they come back to the door. And the judge asked, well, what is this? What's the reason why you're here? She said, well, you know what, Your Honor, I just want clarity. And I'm a total agreement with that statement because every child deserves to know where they come from. See, a lot of people don't want to take accountability for choices made. And we choose to take the road that is convenient instead of the position that is truth. I know I'm talking to someone. But see, life has a way of bringing those very things back, no matter. You know how I always use the cliche, you could pack your bags and move to Botswana. You still gonna be you. And I believe that. Because guess what? Every day that you go outside your door should be a new experience or an opportunity to learn something different. If not, for yourself. This is what is the foundation we know as our wisdom. This is what sets up or establishes what we know as our moral compass. But if you allow for your focus to be swayed on what is projected on propaganda TV, because you got to understand, Johnny next door is not an internet provider. He's not a television programmer. So you don't get to dictate what is distributed. You only have the choice to view. That's why that Nelson Award survey comes out. You always hear about it. So take the Nelson survey. It will let them know how effective the show is. But really what they're not telling you is they want to know how well they're doing from the advertising point of view. They could care less if you watch it or not. But did the ads work? Because guess what? Someone's paying for it. So let's go back to the show. So it comes back on, and the guy that was connected to her mother throughout the years, his point of view was we had a thing, and being pretty much PC about it, he basically said to the judge, whenever she got frisky, she knew where to come, and that door was never closed. Some of y'all can relate to that. Some of y'all know right now, as I'm making this statement, there's that one person that doesn't matter if you get married, doesn't matter if you change your identity. Emotionally, you're going to be connected to that person. But the ironic part is this: we allow that ego, we allow that pride to convince you. We allow our social influence, the people that we break bread with, to have an impact on the way and the things we decide on, not taking stock on the ramifications that are unforeseen. So you go back to the dad. At this time, he's trying to hold it together, but you could tell he was disappointed because she was giving them all this backlash, and pretty much she said, "Hey, yeah, you were on that birth certificate, but I didn't have a relationship with you. I have more of a connection with Mr. Jones," we'll just say. So, come to find out, as you know how they always do, they build up the hype and go to commercial because you got to pay for that TV spot. Come to find out, not only was Mr. Jones not the father, but nor was the man on her birth certificate. So once again, you have another woman. You have this young woman dealing with a question mark of where she comes from. And see, this is something that a lot of people may have pondered, but don't want to look at it head on. See, I've come to learn when you have a child, it's not about you, it's about them. And the seeds that you plant, the influence, is going to be the harvest that comes out in their behavior and what they learn and what they're exposed to and what they lack. So now we're in a pandemic now. Life is all about what I can get with least investment. And we're wondering why our children are lost. Our little girls, maybe little girls in your eyes, but outside that street, she got a nickname. Behind closed doors, she's doing the same thing she's seen mama do, or what her girlfriend told her, or what she might have saw that she was not ready for. And see, we're living in this society, y'all, that nobody wants to invest, but everybody wants to cash in. And you got to ask yourself, why? I remember, what was it, 20 years now? Charles Barkley, NBA Hall of Fame NBA 76er, said when he was in the height of his career, he said, I'm not a role model. Your parents are. And he caught a lot of flack on it. But it's true. We live in a society now that you send your babies off to be educated, but the teacher's got to wear a flak vest just to teach the ABCs. See, a lot of people don't realize, yes, Johnny may act a certain way in front of you, but Johnny acts a certain way around them. And it's your responsibility as the parent to get in Johnny's ass. Excuse my French. But it's the truth. We've gotten so conditioned because you have people that want to make legislation and enable parents to not be parents. And then you have children from parents that are not adults. So we have this vicious cycle that only is known as a generational curse. It shouldn't take you standing in front of a cemetery and you watching your extension being buried before you. It shouldn't take you standing in front of a camera and saying, that's not my son. He's not the one I know. But you're right. That isn't your son. Because to the world, he's known as that person. But we don't want to look at that. You can't sit up here and tell me the signs weren't there. And that is why I say to each and every parent, if you're not in your child's life, as long as they breathe, make a point. Even stop worrying about what the daddy thinks. Stop worrying about the mother think. Start thinking about what that child thinks. And the reason I'm saying this, because it's never too late. I'm the first one. I'm going to tell you this. I've echoed this through my videos, and I'm going to keep echoing it. Because, see, Gerald's not a hypocrite. See, Gerald has a daughter. My daughter will be 16 years old. I don't have a relationship with my daughter. Is it by choice? No. I make sure every month I send my only olive branch. I send a message out. I send a photo out. I send a text out. I do whatever I can because I know what I'm getting is backlash from her mom. Now, this is not a platform to bash her mother. Not at all. But I also know this. Queens, if you have a communicational breakdown with the father, don't you think it's your responsibility to fix it? Fathers, if you're not on the same page as the mother, who are you hurting? Think about it. Because real talk, as a man, you don't want to realize that there's another man teaching your daughter things that you don't want, so that they can grow up and have, well, you wasn't there. You can't blame me. Yes, I can to an extent, but I blame myself. I blame her mother for not being unified. Because see, it's not about the parents. It should always be about the child. But see, we live in an environment where bad behavior is celebrated. We've got a world star hip hop mentality, and we think that's reality. No, it's not. Meanwhile, people on the other side are using your behavior as a means to justify their ignorance. I know I'm talking to someone. Kings, I can't stress this. I can't stress this. Stop calling your mother, the mother of your child, out of her name. I say this because guess what? Words have power. And guess what? Until you break that cycle, you know what's going to happen? That same energy is going to be illustrated through them. Because you got to understand something. Part of you, those 26 chromosomes, part of her 26 chromosomes made a blessing. So you're going to squander it. You're going to let a sugar daddy corrupt what is created perfect. You're going to let a predator misguide your son. And you wonder why they don't want to build schools. But they're quick to build a cemetery plot for a hash line that was never claimed or defined. I know I'm talking to someone. So I know some of y'all are probably wondering, well, where's all this coming from? It's quite simple. I know I'm not the only one that sees this. You go out your day every day to work, to be productive, and you get a constant reminder outside your window where you do business and where you lay your head. So when are we going to look at the pink elephant in the room? And I also say this, a lot of us come from these same things known as our family tree. But you think they care about that? No, because it doesn't make dollars. And if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense. But they're quick to throw it on Facebook for a click. See, a lot of people don't realize that the actions that you do today are going to be your burdens tomorrow. So why won't you be truthful to yourself? See, what I don't understand, and I know in the divine time, God will reveal it because he has. What I never could understand is the strength of a person's pride. But the contradiction is telling the truth. How many times you remember when you did something that you shouldn't have done, and until you came clean, you couldn't breathe? Because that was your truth. And nobody can claim that but you. That's why you always hear people say, shame the devil, tell the truth. But see, I can't live your life. But I don't want to sit here and watch you suffer either. Because everybody got to tow their own emotional backpack. It's not cool, y'all. You got people rushing to die young when you have those that are been blessed to be on this earth trying to stay young. You value your time. That's why it's priceless. So now, 2016, it's all starting to come together. See, a lot of y'all don't realize that we are in an age where social prostitution is going down. I know I'm talking to somebody. You have people making money off of your pain, making money off of your failures, just to get a check. Instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe this ain't the right way to go, bro. Hold on, Queen. You don't see that unforeseen embarrassment around the corner. Nobody has time, because if it's not folded in your hand, no one wants to stand still. And you're wondering why society is going to hell in a handbasket. You got to scratch your head, y'all. So what's going on now? Now, nationally, the world knows about the water issue in Flint, Michigan. Took me 2 days before I actually caught wind of the story. But you know what? What kind of surprised me was this. Flint, Michigan is not the only place with this problem, because everybody knows, unless you're digging up pipes, everybody has the same burden. Do the math. Come on now, if you're moving in a place that's been a wreck for 30 years, do you actually think every time you move out, they rip the pipes out? No. It's got to go somewhere. And what happens? You got access to it. That's why companies that do filtration make so much money. Because, see, they already know this. It doesn't matter. Pick a city near you. You think they digging up those water lines? No. Costs too much. Is it the right thing to do? Of course. Does it make money? No. So does it surprise you that little Sarah, little 7-year-old Sarah, is going through her menstruational cycle? Does it surprise you that little Leroy, who's not even 13, is walking around like he's 22? Come on, y'all. It's blatantly hidden in your face. So let's look at it a little more. Let's say, well, Gerald, that's not the issue. Well, what about your food? If you're drinking it and crops grow, you're getting it with the 1-2 whammy. Because everything you eat, it comes a part of you. I know I'm talking to someone, because it says organic doesn't mean it is. So you're saying, well, Gerald, what should we do then, since you're on your high horse? Well, all you can do is try to live better. Read the labels before you buy. When you're buying produce, take a second, wash it. Add a little apple cider vinegar in your diet. And by all means, at least every 6 months, do a detox. Maybe that's why you can't go to sleep. I know I'm talking to someone. Maybe that's why you're sluggish. I know I'm talking to someone. Or maybe that's why your hormones are through the roof. That's part of it. So let's go back to the paternity court, shall we? So you got this woman crushed because the mindset and the perceptions that were instilled in her from a young age don't hold up now. So it made me wonder this. Did her mom genuinely love her? Because if she didn't, the result was played out for all the world to see. Why couldn't her mother say, well, hey, you know what? Here's the truth. But then again, we also know this. A person's pride can be as hard as a diamond. But I've learned this one too. Every lie that you take to your grave, you know what happens? Everybody connected to you, their growth and development is stunted. You know why that happens? Because see, God is not going to bless you until you are ready to look at the real you first. I know I'm talking to someone. You run around telling your friends, well, that's why my behavior is the way it is. When the truth is, you don't know you. The truth is, you got a hole inside your spirit that longs to be healed. But the truth is, because you're afraid to do a little work, you catching these L's. You catching these blocks. You catching these soul ties. You catching these disappointments that rightfully could be avoided, could be avoided. That's not your life, y'all. That's not your life. So I had somebody send me a message, and I love hearing from y'all. And when you drop me a line, I try to be very punctual and respond back because I like to believe the people on my channel, at a minimum, want to be happy. They want their inner peace. They want to understand who they are and see their self-worth. But I also know this. Nobody's going to do your work, but they'll quickly delay you from doing it. And that's why some people to this day, right now, cannot admit to that beautiful person in the mirror that you suffer from low self-esteem, that you have self-worth issues. And that is nothing but another link in the chain known as your emotions. You said to yourself, I don't know why I do what I do. Sometimes I get tipsy and I black out. How can you have control of what your surroundings are if you don't know what you see? You don't know what you're dealing with. Who wins on that? I'll tell you who. It's the devil. Because see, the devil has already calculated that you won't see your worth. You'll end up picking up the burden that is connected to your family tree. But guess what? I believe when God planted those seeds, he dropped spiritual roots known as your family lineage. And you're going to be the one that is going to sway the direction of how your family tree and story is told. I know I'm talking to someone. I know there's somebody right now. You've got a beautiful family. and you have just that one piece missing, and you would feel complete. And you've made it a point to go on a social crusade to find Mr. or Mrs. Right. You say, if she has these things, I could sleep better at night. But each time you take it upon yourself, put a profile out there, to do a witty line, change up your appearance, or change your location, all it does is attract more disappointment. Can't you see? God don't need your help to bring the right person in your life. Your responsibility is to yourself by preparation. But let me ask you this. If you are in the state that you are in now, you would not be ready for what you ultimately need. Maybe this is a time that you can be honest with yourself and say, you know what? I know God's got something better for me, so I need to prepare for it. You know what? Maybe the perception that I built inside my own denial, I'll have the courage and look at those burdens. See, I keep telling you, I told y'all, as we let go of 2015, you got to open up that emotional backpack and you got to look at every burden. Maybe that burden is you want that connection with that family member. Maybe that burden maybe is you feel that you lack courage because you know in your heart you deserve to know the truth. Don't you realize you have those people, all they want to do is waste your essence. That's why they tell you anything. That's why they don't see your worth. They don't see your value. And they try nothing more to deplete and rob you of the things that matter. I know I'm talking to someone. I know someone's saying, well, that's why I stopped messing with thugs, Gerald. Let me tell you something. The term thug is nothing but a descriptive word of a man who has not developed emotionally. Because trust me, there's a lot of females that have that title. But you know that. That's why you got the penal system. That's why you got the cemetery. And that's why you can't turn back the hands of time. I know I'm talking to someone. You think that your role on this planet is to be the side girl, the fun girl? Your role is to be Mr. Goodwrench? Oh, she'll call you whenever she needs that desire fulfilled, but she don't care about what's found in your mind. I know I'm talking to someone. One day you'll stop running from yourself. And that will be the day the healing begins. But I also know this too. There are those that made a conscious decision to emotionally abandon their own emotions because that was the behavior exhibited by those who had most influence. You know, today I happened to be on YouTube and I saw a video clip of a little girl. I don't think this little girl was 1 year old. And the way her behavior was, you would have thought that little girl was 20. That told me right then and there, number one, there's no balance there. Number two, she's emulating her environment, which really should have been appalled. But yet, whoever was filming it found amusement. You got to remember, y'all, you got some sitting on the away team that are using your behavior as a template of why their ignorance has one more day. I ain't got to tell you. Look at the presidential. Yeah, I'll leave that alone. Can't you tell? You got someone that says, you know what? Because I have the most money wins. But you're supposed to sit there and condone bad behavior? I think not. But I'm going to tell you this, though. They think and believe, watch this. They're going to try to do everything to sway your perception. And they're going to have people to look just like you to convince you otherwise. Just to remind you this, there are checks being written and the ink ain't even dry. And they're banking that you will too just take the hook and settle. That's not your life. Never was. But it does not make no difference if you don't fight for you. Because I'm going to tell you what, y'all. Because you don't see it, because you turn a blind eye to it, guess what happens? A lie is still a lie. A deception is still a deception. And it becomes a life of its own until you have the courage to address it, to take the sting out of it. See, I know there's some of y'all right now, you know somebody that's living a false life. You know, you see it all the time, but because you got emotions invested, you hope that they will snap out, only to see more disappointment. You're like, how can they not see this? It's a choice, y'all. Ain't no handcuffs on you. Ain't no shackles on you. That's free will. But then you're saying to yourself, well, Gerald, God loved us so much. Couldn't he just do something to prevent it? Yeah, he is. It's called delaying your blessing, delaying your life. Because he's not going to give you something, number one, you can't withstand. But he's not going to give you something to squander. I know I'm talking to someone. You think, well, because you don't have the fortitude to stand up and take accountability for your life, you're gonna lean on someone else because they already have financial means. If that ain't nothing but a kept person, I don't know what to tell you. But see, you have some people, those are the ones that got the most assertiveness with their disposition. Who are you to judge me? I ain't gotta judge me. I'm watching, I'm learning, I'm looking at your example. But I know that you deserve better. I know I'm talking to someone. Let me tell you something. There's no growth in deception, but death. And you wasn't brought on this planet for nothing. But until you are able to look that person in the mirror, that perfect person, you were made perfect the moment you took your first breath. But you keep looking at the illustrations of what value is. Huh. I think it's figuratively disappointing because you see cats do it all the time. They get that trophy. That trophy's not going to care about you when you're sick. That trophy's not going to be there when you're down. That trophy is not going to acknowledge you, their bad behavior. They're going to find a way to mask it. Oh, yes, I know I've hurt you again. Take this car as a consolation for your heart. Really? Who's playing the pawn? You're not for sale. But if you keep listening to propaganda TV, they'll have you slapped up smiling like they all do, playing with your cuticles that are not yours. And guess what? They're laughing all the way to the bank. I'm going to leave this alone. But you can't convince me that your life does not matter because you wake up every day. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, for that, for that, it helps me discern mine. And you know what's funny? You hear women yell this from the highest heights. Gerald, there's no good men. When all you got to do is look in the mirror and say, we attract what we are. When you're going to get tired of getting, ain't nobody going to do your work because it's your life and it's your legacy. Be blessed.